We're going to get one sequence where all the male superheroes are shirtless.
Yes.
And they're all just touching each other's pecs.
I don't approve
and
that
abs.
part. But if they just stand there.
And then they just start doing it.
Just smolder.
Yeah, right. It'd be hot.
Yeah.
Just them all just like rubbing each other's chests together. A big circle.
No.
I feel like they've been building.
Too far.
As much as they've been building up Thanos, they've been building up the Marvel body shots. Hey, Reject Nation, Greg Alba here, Courtney Scott right over here.
Hello.
Please follow her on Instagram, I sure do, and follow her on Twitter. As of 20 minutes ago, I definitely do too. So make sure to check her out over there. You might have seen her on the Jabby Kuwait channel. First time I met Courtney was about maybe a year ago. I got introduced to you through my brother, and he said that you're like a big comic book fan, so I've always wanted to bring you on for something comic book related. And I thought, hey, I want to do some predictions.
There's some good comic book movies coming out.
There's at least a couple. Yeah.
Just a couple.
And one of them is right around the corner. Long overdue. Let's do an actual prediction video here. Let's cash in on all those YouTube videos that do predictions. Like the chairs do fart noises. Yeah, professionalism at its best, people. Now, where do we begin with some predictions we want to make on this?
For the Infinity War?
Let me just get this out of the way, all right? Mm-hmm. For sure, Spider-Man and Black Panther dead right away. I think that's going to be the big surprise. People we thought would get more movies.
You know what?
I think
you may have been onto something, because I'm for sure they were gonna blow up Wakanda, and then Wakanda just blew up, and they were like, "Ooh, let's go back and reshoot. We can't actually blow up Wakanda anymore because we kind of need a Wakanda too. We kind of need a Black Panther too. We didn't know it was gonna be global.
We didn't think people would think Infinity War has to compete with Black Panther. What the hell's going on? Exactly. Yeah, they'll be alive. Obviously, they have more movies to do. Yeah, it'd be very upsetting if they killed any of them. I have a prediction on how I think some plot points will play out, which from watching the trailers 3 times, because I don't watch anything more than that on my own time. I feel like the movie will probably start with Thor, because Thor Ragnarok, wasn't the post-credit when he bumps into Thanos' ship? So I feel like it'll start right there. They have all those shots with I'm not going to be the most articulate in this video, I'm letting you guys know that. With Thor, where it was like trying to keep the ship together, he's going to get caught, and then that's when Loki gives over the Tesseract to Thanos. And I think in that scene too...
that happens right then?
Yeah, this is just the first 5 minutes. No, it'll be spread out, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like,
cutting around.
I'm like, they weren't, because based on what we saw from the clip in the trailer, Loki is like, looks like he's on Earth somewhere.
That's probably Act 2 of when this is all going down.
When he gives up.
When everything's going to start getting crazy. I feel there's going to be a lot of setup, but I feel like when things start kicking into gear, first person that is going to encounter Thanos in the Black Order will be Thor.
I agree. Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank God.
I agree
with
that.
1 point for Greg.
I think that's true, because I think for him to end up with the Guardians in some way, you know something must have happened with that ship. If the Thor comic book has anything to do with that, because I don't know if you know, Asgard does actually blow up in the comics at some point during and then New Asgard, I think, is like somewhere in like either Arizona or New Mexico. I can't remember. There is a New Asgard that is in the comic books.
I get the feeling Loki's going to die in that moment. Like, a lot of people are predicting that.
I think Loki might die as well.
He's in like no other scenes in the trailer other than that one spot. Yeah.
But they don't have enough. They have, how many people they have? They don't have enough to show everybody. Like, and he's kind of the he's like the cousin anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not actually an Avenger. He's not actually a bad guy anymore.
I just don't know why Thanos would kill him when Loki is honoring what he said he would do from the first Avengers. That whole theory with Thanos holding Thor's head and making him watch Loki die makes sense to me. And so I think that's how somehow Thor escapes, because I don't think that's on Earth when this is happening. I think that's a different planet. And I think when Thor escapes, that's when he's flying through space, and that's when he bumps into the Guardians. Because don't they have that one thing where he like lands on the window of the Guardians? And then he tells the Guardians, and he's like, yo, I'm the one who put the Mind Stone in Vision's head, and that's on Earth, so we got to get to Earth right away. And I read the Infinity Gauntlet comic book.
No, I haven't read that one.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah. Oh, well, after reading it, I could tell you it is no way a waste of time, because it's going to be 100% like no, it's going to be nothing like this comic book.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
everybody dies in the comic book?
There's just like so many more characters than other characters that play a much bigger role. Yeah. How the Infinity Gauntlet comic happens is like when everything starts going crazy, it's because like half the population just sort of disappears. That includes a lot of superheroes. Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock are a big factor in that comic book.
Oh, and so Doctor Strange going to take over for Adam Warlock.
That's what I'm wondering, is because Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer first encounter Doctor Strange, and that's what seems reminiscent to me about when Bruce Banner shows up. He's kind of doing what Silver Surfer did when he's like, oh, I just showed up at your place, Wong, Doctor Strange. There's this dude named Thanos coming. I got to tell you about it, because I'm sure somehow he contacts Tony Stark.
Here's my prediction. I think Thanos blows up that ship that Thor has with his like refugees from Asgard.
Gotcha. So he just kills Asgard?
I think he blows that right up.
Wow.
Because I think that's how the Hulk crash lands into the Doctor Strange, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
The penthouse.
But like the...
I know what you're talking about.
There's like 3 different like locations. They're called. Somebody's going to tell me on Twitter.
It's the one that appears in Thor Ragnarok and Doctor Strange with all this stuff.
I think the Hulk's going to land. And I think that's how Thor gets thrown into the Guardian ship. Then that might also be how Loki ends up down there, because we all knew that he stole the Tesseract from Ragnarok. So I think that's how he lands up, and I think that's how Thanos gets the Tesseract from him. As Guardians, they're all powerful anyway, so it's not like they're, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think a lot of them are going to die, because when Loki hands over the Tesseract, and you can see in the trailer, there's a shot of one woman, at least I remember, who's dead, and she kind of has the Asgardian outfit on, so it looks like there's a massacre of like a bunch of Asgardians.
Yeah, so I think he's just going to like...
Yeah, so then the next Thor is just him just reproducing. Just having
a bunch of kids.
Just having a bunch of kids.
Bring Natalie Portman back.
In Arizona. Having a good time.
And then she becomes Lady Thor.
Yeah, oh, that'd be nice. I think a big thing that I don't think I've heard anyone touch on, because of how important Adam Warlock is in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. Like, he is arguably the most important character in that comic book, besides Thanos, of course. And they tease him at the end of Guardians 2. Him and Thanos have a whole history with each other, even though Guardians 2 made it seem like Adam Warlock is just being created then. He's the one who leads all the people into how to take down Thanos in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. And they tease him in Guardians 2, yet I feel like no one's really bringing him up. If anything, we'll probably have another post-credit scene where we get to see Adam Warlock in full creation.
But you don't think he's going to be in Infinity War?
I don't think he'll be in the movie Infinity War, but I think he'll probably be in like a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene, or like towards the end he might make an appearance, which will segue into part 4.
You think Thanos is going to last till part 4?
Oh yeah, I think in this one they're all going to lose. I don't think they're all going to die, but I think in part 4 is when they have a victory. I think part 1 has to be depressing, and then part 2 is victorious. That's what I think it has to be. Right? That makes sense. Why are we supposed to do a part 1 and 2?
Well, the only thing is because technically Avengers 4 isn't technically the part 2. You know, because originally there were supposed to be the 2 films. The Russo brothers said that there wasn't going to be Infinity War part 1 and part 2, that they were going to do Infinity War in this whole film. And that there would be a part 4, but it wasn't necessarily connected to Infinity War.
I've heard that Avengers 4's title is a spoiler for Infinity War.
I think it is a spoiler for the outcome of what happens in Infinity War. But I think Infinity War is going to be, like, complete.
Oh, no, I don't think that at all.
I think because they said that they were not going to split up. Otherwise, why would they have put that thing out there saying that it's actually not going to be part 1 and part 2? They're actually 2 separate entities.
I can see that they're both separate entities. I still think that they're going to be linked to each other heavily. And I just can't imagine you build up Thanos for like a decade and then you don't. You get one movie, you defeat him.
Well, I feel like it has to be I don't think that they're going to defeat him. But I do think that it'll come to a culmination, if that makes sense. Even if the culmination is he gets the Infinity Gauntlet by the end of Infinity War. Yeah. If he has the full gauntlet, and then in the next one it's like, what is he going to do with it? Sure. But I think that the war aspect of it is going to be completed.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So then
it's about them taking down Thanos. They let him get the gauntlet together in this one. I think he's for sure going to get the gauntlet.
Yeah, imagine that's how it'll end.
Yes. Yeah. And then...
That's when they time travel, and then Captain Marvel, and then boom, and then Adam Warlock shows up, saves the day. Look out for those casting calls for Adam Warlock. I'll be auditioning.
I think Tony Stark is going to die.
That is what I first thought. That this would be the right time for Tony Stark to die. I don't think he'll die till Avengers 4. And the only reason I say that is because there was Avengers 4 set photos released that had Tony Stark.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then, there's that. I haven't seen those.
Yeah, there's a set photos that just appeared online with Tony, Ant-Man, Captain America, and Cap is actually in his like Avengers suit. So that made me go, a lot of people will probably die in well, why would Ant-Man and why would Ant-Man be there? Why would it be a flashback? They just met in Civil War. No, I'm thinking that somehow something happens where they have to time travel back. I think Cap will die in Infinity War.
Yeah.
But then he'll still...
You think so?
But I think Chris Evans will still come back as Captain America one more time for whatever time travel sequence they have in part 4.
Because they have the time thing.
Yeah, they have the time stone. But I'm also confusing myself because I'm like, well, I imagine that Infinity War would end where he gets all 6 stones.
Someone else told me that the Soul Stone, is it the Soul Stone is the
one
that's left? And they think
that
that's
Wakanda.
in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense because of how they communicate with the dead.
I'm really curious as to why it didn't come up during Black Panther.
I'm kind of glad it didn't because that's just another piece of information to explain how they're communicating. I'm sure they can just throw that in there really quick in Infinity War. That would also make more sense as to why they're having the battle at Wakanda.
We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
If they go to Wakanda, if we have Vision there with the Mind Stone capabilities, and then we have the Soul Stone, we can combine these and take down Thanos.
So we're gonna lose Vision? You think we're gonna lose Vision?
I feel like it's just so obvious that I'm not sure we will, only because it just seems way too obvious.
No, it's like he just got a little human body. He's got his little girlfriend. Like,
yeah,
that's just so mean.
And they're showing, yeah, right. And
it's like he's having a life, man. You know.
And they're showing those shots of like
the Thanos like pulling it just right out of his skull,
or one of those guys from the Black Order pulling it out, right? And I'm like. I mean, I don't think they're actually going to kill him off, only because they feel like, I feel like they're showing it so much in the promos that they're trying to mislead us. And I think Marvel is clever enough to mislead us right now.
Right, so he might be out of commission for a little while. But
then
they find a way to get him back. That's the tag scene. They put it back in his face.
I think Nick Fury will show up in Infinity War, and then Thanos is just going to snatch him. He just die. Yeah, I think Nick Fury is just gonna die in this one. I think it would be really compelling if Thanos uses the Mind Stone to manipulate Scarlet Witch, because her powers were developed in a lab from some stone in Age of Ultron.
Oh yeah, Tesseract.
Yeah, so if they were able to, if he's able to manipulate Scarlet Witch to actually kill Vision, because you see in Civil War when she's like, Vision, with her terrible Russian accent, and then like puts him through the wall, like Scarlet Witch is the one who could take down Vision too.
Right.
So I think it would be neat if we had that, because that would be heartbreaking. We're going to be in store for a lot of things exciting about Scarlet Witch. I think the female characters might actually have a lot more to do, because especially in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book, Nebula plays a large part in how how they kind of overtake Thanos. It's like, it's complicated. I don't want to like necessarily ruin the whole comic book, but she does play a large part. It made me go, maybe they'll take some type of essence for what they do with Nebula and throw it in here, because Nebula is the one character who arguably has the most personal motivation to take on Thanos. She's either going to die trying, or she's going to help out a lot.
After watching her in Guardians 2 and everything that she and Gamora kind of broke through.
Yeah.
That to me was a powerful motive.
Absolutely.
And scene between the two of them. So I would love to see the two of them kind of team up, because it's something they've never done before.
They're the ones with the most personal motivation to take on Thanos.
Exactly.
So they need something to do. I imagine one of those characters from like that we saw in Black Panther who survived will die.
I think Nakia's gonna die.
Really?
Yeah, and here's my reason.
Really?
He marries Storm.
And they're prepping for that? You think they're actually prepping for that?
I don't know, but I know it's throughout all of Black Panther comic books and history. Everyone knows that Black Panther marries Storm. I don't know what we're gonna do with Nakia, because, you know, obviously he's a pretty loyal guy. Unless she just becomes like Storm secretly, we don't know that she has some abilities.
I think we're gonna get an Abraham and Glenn situation, like Walking Dead. One character dies, and you're like, huh, okay, that's the character. And then boom, a much bigger character dies. I feel like Cap could be the bigger one.
Yeah.
I feel like they're misleading us with Vision. I think what will happen at the end of this movie is he'll get the gauntlet, and then Hawkeye will show up and just shoot one arrow into Thanos' eye. And
You know what?
save the
Everybody's
day.
been freaking out. They're like, Hawkeye's not in the trailer. And I'm like, but he was there. He was running with everybody.
But when he was there, you never cared. But now you
Right.
care. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like freaking out. It's the same with like Loki. Like, okay, we saw Loki in one scene. We saw Hawkeye in one scene. That doesn't mean they're not in the movie.
Yeah.
They're there. Believe me. I'm sure they're there.
Guys, what predictions do you have to cap it off? Courtney thinks Iron Man might die. I think Cap will die.
Well, now I don't think it anymore. Now you said the set photo.
That's right. It's swayed everything with my basic knowledge. Yeah.
I mean, you Doctor Stranged it all together, so that's fine.
Adam Warlock will show up towards the end, or at least the mid or post credit scene. I think he will play a factor in taking down Thanos in the future. Loki will die, I think, and also a sexy scene with all the heroes with their shirts off and they're all rubbing each other's chests together in baby oil. And that's when Shazam shows up, The Rock. What are your guys' predictions on Infinity War?
Hopefully they're not as graphic.
We'll see. Guys, you can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell so it means something in our lives. And also, check out Courtney Scott Wright on Instagram and Twitter. Links to her social media in the description box. And you can also check us out on Patreon. Full-length TV show reactions, Q&As, and also a whole bunch of goodies. We'd love to have you. Bye.